All right, so welcome to the second installation of the Mind of the Master workshop series. So today we are going to unpack chapter two, which is goal setting. So I'm gonna just kind of go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see what we're looking at, and I'm gonna just let the computer kind of read through the chapter for you, and or for me, I guess. And so just kind of sit back and just take a listen, and then once we get to the end of that, we'll get some piece of paper or pen or your notes on your phone or something, and we'll set some goals.
Why goals? If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. Zig Ziglar. Goals give us purpose. When we set proper goals, it allows us to design our future. A good goal should inspire you, and also challenge you. It shouldn't be something that was going to happen inevitably, but rather something that we need to exert effort to accomplish. In order to lead an extraordinary life, we need to do extraordinary things. Most people just trudge through life aimlessly with really nothing more than dreams. A dream is a goal that is not properly defined. If you have dreams, let's talk about how you can turn them into achievable goals. A goal is a dream with a deadline. Napoleon Hill. The magic happens outside of your comfort zone. What's easy to do is easy not to do. Today I'm going to show you how to set realistic goals and how to execute on them. If you'd prefer to remain in the comfort zone, or you don't want to lead an extraordinary and inspirational life, then this book is not for you. But for everyone else, we're going to have to put in the work. The prudent man considers well where he is going. Proverbs 14:15. Step 1. Identify your goals. It's hard to hit a moving target. The objective of this group is to help you progress towards realizing your full potential. Personal development is an ongoing discipline that allows us to improve ourselves by improving our habits. Each of the goals we set are intended to bring us closer to God and closer to walking in the fullness of what He has called us to be. When determining your goals, make them SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. For the purpose of this group, we will each select the 3 goals that are the most manageable and attainable, that will have the biggest impact in our lives if accomplished. Each of these goals must be shared with the group, and you will be held accountable to them by the rest of the members of the group. First, let's go a little deeper on what a SMART goal looks like. Specific: make sure your goals are detailed but also concise. Don't make your goal, "I want to have a lot of money." Ask yourself questions like, how much money do I want to have? How would I have this money? In a bank account or 401k? By being specific, it helps us to wrap our head around the goal in a more realistic context. For this example, a specific goal would be, I want to have $10,000 in my savings account. Much better. Measurable: much like the specific element, we need to be able to track the goal. We can't say, I want to lose weight. That doesn't work. We need something we can measure, so I want to lose 10 lbs would be easier to track. The idea here is you should be able to easily tell if the goal was accomplished or not. Attainable: don't make your goals too big. Bill Gates said, most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. Once you get into the habit of setting and accomplishing goals correctly, you'll be able to design your own future. Don't bite off too much to chew on your short-term goals. It's better to set long-term goals and create milestones for the short term, so you can chip away at your ultimate objectives. Make sure you believe you can accomplish the goals you set. Whether you think you can, or think you cannot, you are right. Henry Ford. Go easy on yourself. At first, make sure you have a high likelihood of attaining your goal. Relevant. Don't set goals that aren't going to impact your life. If you're struggling in your finances, don't set a goal to go on a trip to Europe. If you're focused on losing weight, don't make a goal to get stronger in the gym. It's very important that we align our goals with the things that are going to make the biggest impact in our lives. If you know that you'll be happier if you get a promotion at work, you should set goals to get recognized in that area. If your main objective is to have a better work-life balance, then your goal may be to spend less time at the office. Time. The big differentiator between dreams and goals is the time element. For example, I want to have $10,000 saved up versus I want to have $10,000 saved up by the end of the year. Having a defined endpoint is probably the most important part of setting goals. Once you know what you want to accomplish, you need to set an end date. This end date should challenge you. Just the existence alone of the end date will make your dream a goal. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and your plans will succeed. Proverbs 16:3. Your goals should be simply stated and easy to remember. This is going to be your focus for the next 8 weeks. Make sure that the goals you set have a high likelihood of achievement, but are also going to challenge you. Don't worry if one of them ends up taking more or less time than allotted, but make sure that the goals you set will make an impact in your life. Example number 1: lose 10 pounds in 8 weeks. Example number 2: close 10 sales/complete 10 projects in 8 weeks. Example number 3: attend 10 Faith Builders meetings in 8 weeks. Example number 4: spend 10 hours a week with my family for 8 weeks. We recommend you choose goals from 4 categories: physical, professional, spiritual, or family. Now it's your turn. Goal #1. Goal #2. Goal #3. The fun part is choosing the goals we want to accomplish, but now we need to dive into the work.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pause it right there. So basically the first step to setting goals is deciding what is worthy of your time, like what's going to make the biggest impact in your life. So like for me, a lot of my goals are related to like work, and business goals and stuff. But for a lot of people, that's not really as important. Maybe starting a family is more important. Maybe getting into their ideal shape, physically is more important. Maybe traveling is more important. So your goal could be whatever is important to you. But if we just have dreams and we don't have anything really written down, and we don't have like a real defined endpoint and stuff, we're not really it's we're not setting ourselves up to succeed. We're not giving ourselves the best chance to accomplish those things. um I used to be really good about setting goals and really bad about accomplishing them. I used to be really big on New Year's resolutions. I would make like 20 New Year's resolutions, and then the year would go by and I would not look at them again, until the next year, and I would just see how I did. And that's not really it's not a productive way of accomplishing stuff, just kind of having it running around in the background and you're not really thinking about it or actively working towards it. So, um, so for today, we're going to work on setting the goals, and if we have a little bit of time, we could look into, the next chapter, which is to create an action plan. But I want to make sure that we get a really go really kind of an inch wide and a mile deep on just the setting goals aspect. So I'm going to go back over the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So those are the parameters that we're going to want to use to set our goals. So for me, I have a couple of goals that I'm going to set with you guys. I haven't actually thought about it beforehand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out my timer, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to write down some of your goals, and then if you guys are comfortable sharing it, you guys are who are here at least, we will go through them and make sure that they meet those parameters. So I'm going to go ahead and get the clock started, and best of luck. I'll pull up the specific, measurable, attainable, so you can look at that too. Now, while you guys are thinking about your goals, I want to just mention that uh, this is something that you can do for a short-term goal or a long-term goal. And you don't have to be limited just to the three. You can see here, I don't know if it's going to be backwards or not, but this is my goal journal. This is a goal notebook. And so the way that I have this set up is this sheet is my 5-year goals, and you see they're all highlighted in different colors. Now we're not going to really get into all of that today, but those are color coded to the different parts of life that they relate to, so some of them are work related, some of them are spiritual, some of them are family, and so on and so forth. And then you'll see that, like, the next sheet I have my 3-year goals, and then the next sheet has my 1-year goals. And as you can see, I'm really going crazy on these. So what the idea is, that you want to sit down and you want to write out all of the stuff that you want to do, all the things that you want to accomplish, maybe even the places that you want to go. Just write all that stuff down. And then you want to assign a time frame. So like, if you want to go to Egypt, for example, I want to go to Egypt. That write that down, make that a goal, write out when you think you'll be accomplishing that. So for me, I think it'll probably hopefully be within the next year or something. So I can write, one of my goals would be that I will go to Egypt in the next year. So that's specific. I mean, it's detailed that I'm going to go to Egypt. It's measurable. Did I go to Egypt or not? It's attainable. Again, do I feel like I can do it in the next year? Most likely. Is it relevant? Well, it's not going to impact my life tremendously. So it might not be like a very high priority goal, but it would make an impact on me because I've always wanted to go, and I'm very interested in history and all that kind of stuff. So it will definitely make an impact. Plus, it would probably be a nice break from work. And then the time element, of course, within the next year. So, this is kind of the process that you want to go through when you're setting a goal. You want to be able to define it with those 5 parameters. So that would be one of my 1-year goals. But let's say that I had a 5-year goal. So that's something that's a little bit further out. Like, let me see if I can pick something here. So, so I would like to, I would like to buy an apartment building, So what I would like to do that within the next 5 years. So then I have to look back at my goals and say, well, if I want to do that within the next 5 years, what are the things that need to happen along the way that are going to allow me to be able to do that? So you might be breaking your 5-year goal down into a supporting goal, in the 3-year frame, which will lead to actions that are going to support that 5-year goal. So I hope that makes sense. But you want your 1-year goals to support your 3-year goals. You want your 3-year goals to support your 5-year goals, your 5-year goals to support your 10-year goals, and so on and so forth. Now you can do this as far out as you like to. I have only done it up to the 5-year mark because it's really hard for me to like think out that far right now. But I'm getting better at trying to look into the future and try to come up with what I want to do and that kind of thing. So we got about 2.5 minutes left for you guys to finish putting together your goals. If you're like me at all, you probably already have an idea of some of the stuff that you want to do. And really, for the purpose of this workshop, we're probably going to do more short-term goals, but you can make them long-term goals. It really doesn't make a big difference. And again, for those of you who are on with us today, if you guys are comfortable sharing some of your answers and stuff, we'll be able to unpack that. And if we have a little bit of time left, we can discuss, what an action plan would look like, which is really, that's the tactical part of setting goals, is creating the action plan. And the last little tidbit that I'll mention is we did a challenge last month, which was the September 6th, where we made a list of 6 changes that we want to make. And we could make those changes into goals. I have one of mine is plan tomorrow today. Another one is to delegate. Another one is to get organized. So a lot of that stuff is not measurable at all. It's not very specific. There's really no time limit on it, except for those, they have like a general 1-year timetable on them. So that's kind of an example of what maybe like a bad goal would be. But the intention of those changes were not necessarily to be goals. but those could be rewritten as goals, which we might explore, down the road. Got about 45 seconds here, so I'm going to give you guys some quiet time just to finish up your answers. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. So, does anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
How you doing today, sir?
Good, good, good. Great to have you.
Alrighty. So I did an 8 weeks trying to, I do have one that is more long-term, but I did break it down to 8 weeks. So I'll just get straight into it. So my first goal, the one I've been really working on for a long time this year, is to lose weight. But to be more specific, I want to get to 189 pounds by the end of the 8 weeks. So that's the big one I'm pushing towards. The long-term one that I have is I want to learn conversational Spanish by March, but I broke that down to where I do one lesson every day for the next 8 weeks. That'll help really jumpstart and put me on the right path and create the habit of just being consistent, because it's not long. It's like each lesson's like 10-15 minutes, so it's not like a big undertaking, but it's just the consistency, learning a little bit every day. The next one that I have is I want to take on 20 new listings within the next 8 weeks. So that's pushing my averages by a little bit. So that's something that I'm going to have to get outside of my comfort zone to attain. So that's going to, be diving really deep into the numbers and all that. So I feel like that's a good stretch goal without being too overwhelming. And then the last one that I have is to have an exercise regimen where I exercise at least 5 days a week with 2 rest days.
Great.
And that's what I have.
Love it. Let's see. That's great. So yeah, so boom. So you hit the nail right on the head. So your goals are, they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable. The 20 listings in 8 weeks, it's possible because somebody's doing it, but is it attainable for you? Yeah, absolutely. Because what we're going to do next is we'll look at like the action plan, like what's it going to take for us to do that. But you don't want to do something, you don't want to set goals that are easy. So, what would you say that you're averaging right now as far as like an 8 week period? What would be what you're averaging right now, just to give the listeners context?
I'd have to say right now I'm averaging 1 to 2 a week. If I had to really break it down, it'd be closer to the 1 a week. So maybe like 1.45 a week. So really that would probably put me between 12 and 15, maybe 16 on the high end if I were not to change anything. So to go from 12 to 20 is going to take a little bit of honing in on my skills and really dialing in on what really needs to be done every day, and push what I'm currently doing, where it's not too much of a push, but it's like enough to where I'm leaving the comfort zone and that would be like a new number that would be the highest number that I've ever hit in
Mhm.
that time frame. So it would set like a great milestone too, to where it's like creating a new baseline to then grow from.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing those. So Ryan, I see that you're joining us. Great to have you, man. So we were just talking about our goals and just kind of setting goals and stuff
I
for
don't
the
have
uh,
box and
for
food.
the
I don't
future.
know if
They
it
could be
will
short term
pop.
or long term. Do you have
Pop.
any goals that you're working towards?
We know we want to get married, so
Unfortunately, sorry. Sorry. I think goals wise, it's just if we're talking business, definitely want to next year or so have our own brick and mortar, or at least some type of ghost kitchen. Definitely want to start. Been looking more into what that is going to require. I know, like money wise, it's going to require like investors, but also like how to allocate locating investors to invest into that type of business, but also trying to still own majority of the concept. So I wouldn't want to take on a lot of investors. So it'd be also focusing a lot more on my credit, and then seeing what type of business loans after like my credit's a lot better than what it is right now, and then going from there. Well, I think that would be my biggest goals, is kind of just realigning credit to be more aligned with a future business owner, and also my own personal goal would be getting my own house, but that's probably not going to happen for another year or two. So I think my goals right now is to focus on the kids and start building up my business, and also Lacey's business in that direction. Really, mine needs a little bit more work on what credit score. I did jump like 60 points this last week, but I'm not where I want to be. I want to be like in the 700s. I'm like in the low sixes right now. So,
Well, that's a great place to be. I mean, honestly, I think like 620 is where a lot of the entry level loan opportunities and that kind of stuff is. So you're on the right track. Um, so I love that you have, kind of given yourself a timeline too for it. So that's kind of the big thing that separates a goal and a dream is, putting a clock on it. And then what we'll kind of get into if we have time today or next Monday would be the action plan, which is kind of like what you were talking about, those items those boxes you need to check in order to make that happen. Leslie, did you have a chance to put together some of your goals?
Yes, Caleb, I am calling in from Tampa, Florida.
Mhm.
Let's see. The 6-month goal is to own a multi-unit investment property. So I'm looking to do that by this summer. A year goal is to graduate from USF with my bachelor's in finance. And then a 1.5 year goal is to be promoted to associate at Heidrick, which is my current employer, making over 120K a year. And then a 5-year goal is to buy a ski resort.
Oh, wow. Very cool. So, Leslie, those are great. Those are great. So as you can see, kind of the same thing. Leslie's got some big goals out here, some ambitious goals, but she's got a clock on it, So, you guys are kind of getting me inspired, just hearing your goals and stuff. My goals are, let's see. So one of my goals is for this quarter, I want to produce 300,000, which we do about like 50,000 a month or so right now. So that would be basically doubling our output. But I definitely think it's possible. And so, kind of limited to the next couple of months. Definitely think that that's possible, but it's going to take a lot of hard work for sure. Another goal that I have is that I want to try to get a 6-pack. I've just been carrying around a little bit more than I need to in the midsection. So I think that that's definitely attainable. I want to do that by Thanksgiving. The 6-pack is, it could be anything, you know. I just, you know, I want to see something that I'm not seeing, I guess. So I guess the third goal that I have is I want to go to Egypt in the next year. I just went ahead and I filled that in like we were talking about. Um and then the fourth goal is one of those changes that I want to make, which is just delegating everything. And the way that I wrote that out was to kind of demonstrate what a bad goal looks like. So you guys all did a really good job about sharing goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. This goal I left in here as an example to show you that this doesn't really check any of those boxes. So if I could maybe tweak it a little bit, I would say, you know, um, delegate everything within the next year. So that would put a clock on it. And then to be measurable would be I would need to make it make sense, make make it so that I can tell if I did it or not, you know. So I would say just make it sales and production, and then maybe I'll add admin. So then I'll say if I'm doing sales or production or administrative work, then I didn't do it. So then that kind of makes it more measurable. It is very relevant because by doing that, I would be able to, you know, increase the output of the company, and I would also be able to reduce the input that I need to personally have. So great work again, everybody. Since we seem to have, you know, a good amount of time here, I'm going to go ahead and just let us jump into the next section, which is really, I mean, really where the work happens. So let me just get this to read this next little bit for us.
Step 2. Create an action plan. In step 2, we are listing the steps we need to take in order to accomplish our goals. If this seems difficult at first, it may be easier to work backwards from the achievement of the goal to map out the steps that it would take along the way. In this segment, we don't need to worry about going into too much detail on the steps. In the next section, we will break each of these steps down into smaller, daily steps. Keep your action items broad yet relevant, and allow yourself room to go into more granular detail in the next segment. Example, goal, lose 10 pounds. Step 1, start tracking calories. Step 2, exercise more. Step 3, stop eating out. A plan in the heart of a man is like water in a deep well, but a man of understanding draws it out. Proverbs 20:5. 10-minute exercise. Now it's your turn. Take your 3 goals and list the 3 steps you need to take in order to achieve them. What things need to happen in order for your objective to be accomplished? Take at least 10 minutes, but if you need more time, don't limit yourself.
And
Goal
I'm
#1.
going to go ahead and stop it right there. So you guys can probably see if you're on mobile, you know, maybe not very well, but there's a little table here. And so the way that you write this table out is you'll put your goal first. So Ben, since you shared yours first there at the top of the page, I'm gonna go with yours first. So let's do the 20 listings in 8 weeks. So-
Okay, so let me switch spots real quick because I'm gonna have to look at my spreadsheet to
Mhm.
see what the numbers will come out to. Let me just open that up real quick. So right now I'm averaging about 83 conversations to a listing. And I'm averaging about 16 conversations a day. So let me open up a calculator too. So 83 contacts to a conversation, and I'm averaging about 16 conversations a day. So 16 times 5 is about 80 contacts a week. So as you can see, that number holds pretty true to get to my one listing a week. Now, again, I am having a little bit, maybe a little more. That's what my average is right now over a 7-day, 7-day work week. But as you can see, that falls right in line. So what I'm going to have to do is go, if I want to truly hit my goal of getting to 20, that's going to be doubling the amount of conversations I'm having day and a little bit more. Now, I know that might sound like a lot. However, when I'm having these 16 conversations, that's me only working, which I'm ashamed to say, but when you have the numbers in front of you, there's really no hiding from it. It takes me about an hour to have 10 conversations. So that's me working about an hour and a half. And I've already had I've already had the conversation of having more focused time to where the time that I am spending is more focused, but also extending it. So what I'm going to be doing actually this week, moving forward for my business to attain higher numbers, is I'm going to be making calls instead of from like 8 to 9:30, 8 to 10, I'm going to be doing 8 to 12. So I'm going to be slightly more than doubling the amount of time. And then also there's some critiquing that I can do when it comes to like the efficiency of these calls. But so what it looks like is 80 conversations a week times 3 is 240. So I need to have 240 conversations a week in order to meet my goal. And actually, that's very, very doable. If I break that down into 7 days, that's 34 conversations a day, 7 days a week. So that's, I'm doing 16 now. So 34 is literally just slightly more than double in order for me to attain these goals. So when I break it down like that, okay, Ben, like you're doing 16, taking you an hour and a half. To do 34 is going to take you 3 hours. So that 8 to 12, I want to, within that time frame, some conversations are longer than others. These are my averages, but within that 8 to 12 time frame, I know in order to hit my 20 listings by the end of 8 weeks, I need to have 34 conversations a day. So that's what my focus is. I cannot stop today. If I want to hit this goal and be serious about it, I know today, tomorrow, and the next day, I cannot stop making calls until I talk to those 34 people. But it really, when you look at the big numbers, you're like, oh man, that's a lot of conversations. But then breaking it down, it's like 34 people. I could do that easy peasy. So I don't know if that answered your question or if that was thorough enough, but that's kind of where my head's at right now.
So let's look at it in the context of the of what would be bite-sized steps that you would take from a bird's eye view. So before we get, because you definitely took it very, very in depth, which is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. But let's say, what would be the first step? It would be contacting 34 people a week, right?
Correct.
Yep.
34 people a day.
34 people a day.
Yep.
Okay, 34 people a day. So we'll say that the first step is to contact 34 people a day. Now you got a pretty good understanding of like what the actions are going to be in order to make this happen. But what would be another action that's maybe less related to having those conversations and stuff? What would happen if you had 20 listings? What would be something that would be maybe that would provide operational drag or something like that? What would be another problem that you would need to troubleshoot if you had 20 listings in the next 2 months?
No, that's a really great question. And that is something I've thought a lot about, because as my business has started to grow, I've had to critique what my value proposition is. Like, for an example, when I was slowly growing and I had more time per client, I was saying I would host open houses every weekend and I would door knock the entire neighborhood to be more aggressive. And then as I started to get more clients, I no longer could make those promises because I did not have the time to do it. And I almost had to go the opposite direction and explain there's other strategies that are more powerful than door knocking and open houses. So I'm having to switch what my value proposition is in order to get these clients. And then also setting up my schedule to where it's almost like easy put is like client appreciation hour, where I'm not focusing on one problem here, one problem here. It's going to be batching everything that has to do with my current book of business within certain time slots throughout every single day to make sure that everybody's getting the attention that they need without letting anything slip through the cracks. And that's something I'm going to have to work on because I can tell that I get pulled in 10 different directions, and it takes away from me making those phone calls that I need to because a problem arises or something. So so it's going to be crafting a new value propositions that's just as strong but creates less operational drag, and then it's going to be making sure that my schedule is airtight to allow myself to do the activities that are going to promote the new business while also servicing my current book of business at the best level that I could, working as a solo agent.
That's awesome. So thank you for sharing that. So you guys can see like this is exactly the way that we do this. So like it's great to say I want to do this big goal. I want, and then you even put a clock on it and stuff, but you have to think through all of the different levels of what's going to be involved in it and stuff so that you can be really aware. Like the more clearly you can make the vision and the more clearly you can make the road to accomplishing the vision, the more you're gonna, I'll say the less you'll be discouraged along the way, because you'll say, hey, I know that I need to hit 34 a day and I know that I need to. So we'll say his second step is he needs to update his value proposition, and his third step is he needs to organize his schedule. So now that he has a plan, it reduces the anxiety that comes with having a big goal. It reduces the indecision, the sitting on the hands and stuff, the not knowing what to do. If you know what to do, there's nothing left but just doing the doing. So Ben, I appreciate that you shared that. You had everything very well thought out and stuff. The next chapter, which we're not going to have time for today, is where we're going to go even more granular on each and every one of those steps. So you're going to write a list of action items for each and every one of those steps. So for the 34 contacts a day, then you would need to have 240 conversations. You would be able to break that one down that way. And then you would update the value proposition, which is step 2. You would say, okay, well, I need to do this, this, and this to the value proposition. And again, this is just kind of a workshop. We're just looking at kind of scratching the surface of what this process is. But what I encourage you guys to do is to you don't have to stop with 3 steps. You can say, hey, there's 4 or 5 steps that are involved in me accomplishing my goal. And there might be 20 different action steps, supporting actions underneath each and every one of those. So, the more time that you can sit and really critically think about these things and put together a very solid, very detailed, very thorough plan, the higher likelihood you're going to have of achievement. Leslie, if you would like, we have a couple minutes left. I'd love to help you maybe unpack one of your goals. If you had one that you wanted to try to break down.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I think the multi-unit investment property has a lot of moving parts, so we can try to tackle that one together.
Sure. Okay, great. All right. So Leslie had set a goal that she wants to own a multifamily property within the next 6 months. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that her goal is to have in 6 months a multifamily property. Now, what would need to happen, Leslie, in order for you to achieve that goal?
So I think first I need to get some guidance on my approach to credit. And then second, I need to start having those conversations with the lender. Probably start with like our home lender first and see how we can leverage the equity that we have.
Mhm.
And from there, if we need to explore some other options.
Okay, so let's say that the first step is the funding angle. So we'll be looking kind of at just generally, you're going to need to find funding or figure out the funding piece, which is going to involve you having the lender, having a dialogue with them, or finding a better suited lender if that ends up being the case. Finding out if you can get
Correct.
some equity from your house, getting your credit up to par and stuff. So those would be like kind of the granular steps that would support that first action. So then the second action, what else would it take in order for you to, like, if you had the funding figured out, what would be the next thing that you would need to figure out in order for you to have that multifamily property? Would you need to find the property? Would you need to locate? I mean, I think that would probably be an important part of it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think we would, as we get into the market, we would want to dial into a location and an objective that we're looking for. Are we looking for like a nicer property with just a couple units? Are we looking for something more mediocre with more volume of units? Um, and then we would need a comprehensive assessment of how much it's going to be bringing in, how much work is it going to require, and all those deeper looks into it.
Absolutely. So I think locating the property and finding the metrics and stuff and making sure that that makes sense is probably a really good second step. Now, what do you think else would be involved? Like, let's say that you were able to find the property and you're able to fund the property. What do you think would be maybe another piece that would be involved in it? Do you think that you would need to, would you need to have somebody that would be helping you with property maintenance or property management, or would you be doing that in-house? What's your thought about that angle?
I think budgeting would need, I think a strict budget would need to be enforced to make sure that we're making loan payments on time. Property management would be one element, but I think even before that, we'd probably have some either remodeling or painting, landscaping going on. So kind of the either remodeling or aesthetic stuff, and making sure I'm set up for success as far as budgeting goes, that I'm not overextended with this new commitment.
Absolutely. So let's say that for step 3, you'll need to find maybe find a contractor or a property manager or somebody that will be able to at least advise you on those elements of it. And again, we're just looking at things kind of from a bird's eye view right now. In the next chapter is when we really kind of unpack like the tactical steps behind each and every one of these things, even breaking it down into daily or weekly actions. But the most important part of kind of this process is that we're figuring out, okay, what's going to make a big impact in our lives? What are the things that we're going to do? What do we want to accomplish? When do we want to accomplish them? And then how are we going to accomplish them? What things need to happen in order for us to accomplish the goals that we set out? So I appreciate you sharing that with us and giving us a chance to kind of go in and break some of this stuff down. Since we have a little bit of time left, does anybody have any questions or any other goals that they want to unpack while we're here together? So what I'll do is I'll take my big goal and I'll just break that one down and we'll call it a day after that. So my big goal is to produce $300,000 in the next 3 months. It'll be the next 2.5 months or so. So the first step is going to be to sell $300,000 worth of work, which, since we're not going to unpack all the details of how that would happen, we're just going to look at kind of an overview of what the steps are going to be. But if I was to break that one down, I would say, well, I would need to have a certain amount of leads. I would need to have, somebody that would go and do those appointments and stuff. And then I would need to have, an idea of what their close rate is and all these different things. So the first step would be to sell the 300,000, but that only gets us, a third of the way there. So the second step would be to be able to fulfill the $300,000 worth of work, which would involve having a team that's capable and have a management system to where, we're not just going to go out and do at our average job size, that would be 33 projects. So 33 projects is about 11 projects a month or so. And so for us to have 11 projects a month, depending on the size of them, a lot of moving parts there, we would need to have, a good system in place in order to make sure that we're delivering on our promises as far as the quality and the timelines and all that. So I would say I'll put fulfillment of the 300,000 would be another big piece. And then I guess the third step of that would be maybe let me think about it for a second. And you see, like, this is the best part of this whole thing is that we take the time to think through this stuff so we can really have a clear understanding of all the elements that make up these goals that we're setting for ourselves. I guess in order for us to do that amount of business, I would probably be able to have the team that I have in place, but I would need to probably bring on one admin person to be able to help with all of the overflow from that. So without breaking up these little things and kind of going into detail and stuff, you can kind of see that, like, the next step, the next chapter is when we're going to go and we're going to say, okay, in order to sell 300,000, I need to get a certain amount of leads. I need to have somebody setting appointments and going to all the appointments. And then for the fulfillment, I would need to have the crews that are going to be able to handle it, somebody who's going to be able to manage them, somebody who's going to be able to uphold the quality and the timelines on those projects and order the materials, kind of handle the administrative burden. And I would also need to bring on somebody who could help with that administrative burden, because somebody who has who's going to be managing those projects and stuff is going to need support, because those jobs would take a lot of back end kind of management and administrative burden. So it was really great having you guys here today. I hope that this was very helpful for you guys. For those of you who are watching the replay, I hope that you guys took the time here to kind of go through and perform some of these exercises. But this is the secret sauce, really, to achieving the life that you want. It's said here when we first started this section that, let me go back to it just so I can read it right from the page. In order to lead an extraordinary life, we need to do extraordinary things, and I think, at least, the you guys that are here on the call today, you guys want to do extraordinary stuff. You want to do big stuff, and it's going to take, steps. It's going to take processes. It's going to take work. And, it's not going to take working just for the sake of working. It's going to take very strategic and calculated steps and a lot of intention. And but this is what this is all about, and that's why I put together this book, so that you guys could have these tools to be able to set you up to lead an extraordinary life and to do extraordinary things. But it all starts with us. It starts with us doing the work, doing the hardest work is just right now exactly what we're doing, and just thinking through all this stuff. So I'm glad that you guys were able to join in today. I hope that this was helpful. Last week we ran a little bit late, so I wanted to try to make sure that we got you guys out on time. We did time management last week, and I've been, I do the sheets that I sent out, which is just every 10 minutes I got to be accountable for what I'm doing. I've been doing that for a while, so I want to be, mindful of your guys' time, and I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you guys for joining me today. I look forward to next week's segment. We're gonna be going even deeper on the action steps and how to create a plan of attack for your goals. We're gonna go and unpack each and every one of these things. But I do encourage you guys to take your time and do this, kind of on your own, so that you have the practice, and then when we get back together next week, we can kind of troubleshoot anywhere if you guys get stuck. But once again, thank you guys for coming, and feel free to reach out to me anytime if you guys have any questions, or if you'd like some support on putting together any of this information. Everybody have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.